Alright, so it's time for me to answer some of your questions. Alright, so when did you start cosplaying? Why did you start cosplaying? How long have you been cosplaying? I get these questions a lot in some slight variation, so I decided to tackle them all as one instead of repeating myself and going into all three. As for why I started cosplaying, that was because of some people that I met up here in college. And they were into cosplay, and I'd always been interested in it, but I'd never really known where to start. So I talked to them about it, and they showed me, like, well, you get your wigs offline, and got me really interested in it. The first incidence of cosplaying with these people was Halloween 2010. There was this zombie get-together thing at the university college, and me and the one girl decided to go as zombies from Left 4 Dead. So she cosplayed the Hunter and I did the Witch, which in October in Canada is one of the dumbest things you can choose to do. And it was a lot of fun despite being covered in ridiculous amounts of grease paint. I really wish I had photos from it, but it was too cold to stay outside and get any. So that was the first time I did anything like cosplay. And then the first time cosplaying at a convention was the following Anime North, which would have been Anime North 2011. And I just did a Vaporeon Giganta. It was mostly closet cosplay, but it was a lot of fun and it kind of made me keep wanting to do it. So for how long I've been cosplaying, I would really count Anime North 2012 as the start date. So that's about 2 years, which seems a lot longer than it feels. Well, I hope that answers those questions. Alright, so do I make my own costumes? For the most part, I do, because it seems to be cheaper. I don't really know if it is cheaper. Maybe if I added up every little cost, it would probably be cheaper to buy them, but it's just the way I've started doing it, and for the most part, it's how I make most of my costumes. Though I have bought some costumes, either due to difficulty or time restraints. Like, I bought my Lollipop Chainsaw costume because I didn't want to silkscreen those socks. And I bought my Sakura school uniform because I wanted to have that time to make other costumes instead of working on it. I also do employ the thrift store quite a bit for costumes. Like, my Femme Joker is pretty much entirely made from the thrift store. And I don't really see, I know some people are like, oh, I only make my costumes or I just buy them. I don't really see how that affects it. I don't know, to me it's just have fun and do what you can do. If it's easier for you to buy them, then buy them. If it's easier for you to make them, then make them. Did I go to cons before I started cosplaying? Actually, I did. Back in grade 9 and 10, which would have been 2005, 2006-ish, I went to Anime North on the Saturday both times. They were my first con experiences, and I really didn't know what you did at a con or like anything. So for the most part, me and my friend just ended up hanging around the dealer's room, but I still had a lot of fun, and it was really great seeing the costumes and just actually getting to be around other people who liked the same things that I did, because I came from a very small town, and it was the weird thing. I know in most towns and cities it's still the weird thing, but like there was a very, very small group of people who liked it because it was such a small town. So I had a lot of fun those first 2 times, and due to money and getting a little out of anime and manga, I didn't go back in 2007 or 8 or 9 or 10. But when I got to college, I started to get more back into all of that, and I wanted to go, and I actually had a bit better of an idea of what to do at a con. and then I cosplayed for the first time then too. How do you find the time, money, and, well, the time and money to go to all of these different cons and to make costumes for all 3 days? This was a question I was kind of dreading because I kind of just do it. I don't know. It's a lot of being tricky and planning and being smart with my money. Like, I make sure to buy the early bird passes for conventions that I know I want to go to, like Con Bravo, for example, because the early bird passes are so much cheaper than at the door and even cheaper than pre-reg. And it's just a very good deal. And then having the ticket for so long, you feel obligated to make the time to get to the convention. As for getting time off from work and that sort of thing, I've found in the past that if you only really ask for the days for the con off and you're willing to work almost any other time, then most employers seem to be a little more lenient in giving you the time you ask for off if you don't ask for time off that much. As for making costumes, that's a lot of planning and working on them sometimes months in advance. Normally I try to pick my costumes according to how much time I have. Like, I normally will pick like one really detailed crazy costume to do and then 2 simpler costumes that I know I can make within a couple days. This has a lot to do with me doing masquerades, where of course you want to have something impressive and detailed and very well constructed for a masquerade, so you want to have the time to make your masquerade costume, and you might not want to give up time to work on it for your other costumes. I do a lot of thrift store hunting and trying to cut corners essentially for my costumes to help with free up some time. Like my Shiro costume, for example, I bought a morph suit online and then I modified it by painting the different designs on it, and I also had to take it in. But because I bought the suit, I probably cut down my time working on that costume by about a day. So it only ended up taking me 1 day to make. So I think it just has a lot to do with planning, and if you have a good plan, you can normally make it work. How long does it take you to make a costume? People ask this a lot, and I think they maybe don't understand that different costumes take different amounts of time, like wildly different amounts of time. Like I just said, my Shiro costume, that thing took me a day, maybe a day and a half with touch-ups and whatnot after the paint dried. But then my Sakura ball gown, I was working on that thing for 3 months. Like, it really depends on what you're making. Costumes like my Tara Brantford costume took me weeks to complete because of the detail work and the hand painting and the beading. And then things like kimonos take a day or 2 at most to make. It really does depend on what the costume is and where your skills lie. So, my costumes take me anywhere from 2 days to 3 months.